Yeah.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me, Brooke. Did you want to kick it off?
Yeah, sure. So welcome everyone. Thank you for joining for Sprinkles Parents. We're so grateful to have Tet here. Many of you know we had, a microaggression in our community, and I had reached out to Tet for some guidance and help. And we discussed we want to talk about, the invisible load of motherhood and how it impacts, women, and especially BIPOC women. And so today we want to just, she's going to share some education and talk to all of us about what that invisible load of motherhood is like, some tips for us, and just really grateful for all of you women. I believe everyone identifies as a woman here to make the time, as a mom, so we can learn some tools to help us. So thank you so much for Tet. Like, if you want to introduce yourself and your incredible background, like really excited to, learn from you and hear more.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me just share my screen because I have a whole thing. Oh, hold on. Another person doing all the things as a facilitator. And let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see? Oh, hold on. It's not allowing me to share the media. Why is that?
Oh no.
Again.
Here we go. Technology at its
Okay, can
finest.
you see it now?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, weird. Why can't I hear you though? Can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right. It is hard for me to hear you all for some reason. Okay. All right. So the emotional invisible labor of motherhood, and really quickly, this is what we'll cover. I know we have very limited time because this is a very big topic, and I want to make sure that we all have an opportunity to I want this more to be a discussion and a conversation as well. So we'll talk about the emotional and invisible labor, what that is, share some research and data that I've done in my clinical psychology degree. I'm currently doing my advanced degree in clinical psych. And I'll talk more about that later. The experience of moms of color is very different. So I wanted to share that as well. And what can we do about it? How are we able to deal with all the things, and talk about that. And then, please do keep in touch. So I have a little plug at the end. All right. So it looks like a majority of the moms who join us have kids basically under 5, under 3. Is that right? With somebody, we have a mom who has 3 children, 7, 5, and 2. So, okay, rock on. And let's see here. Okay, so I'm Tet, and I am a mother of 4 girls. So my girls are ages, let me see if I get this right, 8, 11, 14, and 17. I have a senior in high school, so that's been really quite the task with college applications and college rejections and acceptances. And you'll all go through that at some point. So enjoy them now, because it's been a very stressful time. Talk about emotional and invisible labor. And we also adopted a puppy during COVID. Her name is Isla. She is 3 and she is 85 pounds. So of goodness. Love her. She is my Velcro dog who is currently laying on my bed because she needs her mom. So there's another one there. I'm if you can just hear all of that, right? And I'm currently doing my advanced degree in clinical psychology, and my focus is predominantly women of color in the workplace, and then also moms. I am also doing some research around adolescent girls, specifically in affluent communities. and determining why their mental health is actually a lot more unstable than low income folks. So it's been very interesting. If you're interested in learning more about that, let me know. I work in tech, so I also have a full-time job. I work in the technology space, heading up global new hire experiences. And then I also have my passion project, which is Mom Warrior. This is what I do. I provide a platform to coach women of color, and teen girls. I also have a summit that I do yearly. I took a break during COVID, but I'm kicking that back up in 2024. So lots of things. All right, so just something to think about. I thought you would appreciate this quote. Motherhood is a constant battle between going to bed early to catch up on sleep and staying up late to enjoy some peace and quiet. Who all here understand and can feel that to your core? Yes, I'm sure. Natalie, yes, Vanessa. It's so hard because it's like, oh, I really need to rest, but this is the only time that I get to myself, right? So the struggle is real. All right, so how do we define emotional invisible labor? So the other terms that are used with emotional invisible labor is mental load or unpaid work. Those are usually the terms that we see. And this is basically, all of them are all phrases that capture the work that we do that goes unseen or unacknowledged by others. And there's actually a study that was done where if you take women's unpaid labor here in the United States, it's $1.5 trillion a year of unpaid labor. And then I think globally it went up to like 10.5 trillion. And some of the things that I wanted to share here, and I'll just stop sharing my screen so I can see you all, is that in the home, women in hetero relationships still do the majority of childcare. And that means, the household chores and also household management. And at work, I don't know how many folks here, how many of you moms work outside of the home? Anya, okay, Kelly, Allison, okay, Sophia. All right, so at work, women are 44% more likely to be asked to volunteer for unpromotable tasks. It's interesting because for volunteering, men say yes only 51% of the time, and women say yes 76% of the time. So there's definitely disparity there. Anyone have any thoughts on how you might define emotional invisible labor for yourself, or how you see it playing out in your life? It's okay, it's a safe space. Brooke, do you want to start?
I can jump in. I mean, I see it as more the management that goes unnoticed of like, do we have groceries this week? Are my kids signed up for camp? Is there a nanny? Is there like all those things that are, that my husband would never, no offense, think about, and they magically keep happening without anyone asking me to do it, and just like the management of it.
Yeah. Yep, that is true. So it's the tasks, right? Anyone else?
Yeah, it's just a constant thinking about plans, right? Like, what are we doing this weekend? And, just things like that. Or what are we eating tonight? And, it's like, it's an assumed task that, the woman is going to handle that.
Yeah, we may have to make all the decisions. So the interesting thing about emotional invisible labor, at least from the research I've done, is it's a lot of checklist stuff. But I think the thing that is probably what underpins all of it that causes the burnout, the stress, the anxiety, all of the things, is we're looked to make the decisions. We carry a lot of the psychological safety, I guess, for the family, right? So as a mom of 4 girls, I can tell you all the emotions are running high. Two of them have their periods now. So you can only imagine the amount of tampons and pads we go through in the household, but also just the amount of emotions that come with it, right? So suddenly someone is just really mad about something. Like, why are you suddenly yelling at me? Or my 8-year-old will say, oh, my friend wasn't being very nice to me at school. And so those are the kinds of things that we carry as well, that I think, a lot of the time goes unnoticed, but it is a big part of what we do. And so I wanted to share a really quick, it's a funny video, but it's also like a real video of the mom truths. I don't know if you've seen this at all. I'm sure you've seen them, but maybe not this specific one, about just why are moms so tired.
No. Feel free to share your screen. I think it's off sharing now.
Oh, it's off sharing? What?
Yeah, no worries. I think when you try to see everyone.
There we
But
go.
I just want to say, like Vanessa mentioned, that she had a lot of household life management before children too. And that as just a woman, and then with like motherhood, it probably expedites it.
Yeah, for sure. It amplifies it, right? It actually makes it even more so. All right. Oops. So let me see if I can. Can you see it? No, you can't. Okay. This is. All right, let me just reshare my screen with the video because I have it up. Okay. Technical difficulties.
No worries. And I know there's some folks off mute, like moms off mute, if you guys were trying to say something or just was accidentally off mute. But you're welcome to share as well.
Okay, here they are. You've probably seen them. Right? All right.
Hey,
It's
Mom Truth Friday.
sure is.
People always want to know, why are moms so tired?
And if you're not a mom, you're probably looking at us like we're a big bunch of Sallys. Like, really? You're tired? You know what I mean?
Oh, especially you stay-at-home moms. All you do is just sit at home.
Why are we so tired?
We're tired because every single job we attempt to do gets literally sabotaged 5 times over. So you're doing one job 5 times.
Just imagine that you're in charge of thinking about all these people that you have to keep alive. Not just keep happy, not just raised to be good humans.
Not just give food to, but
No.
make sure that each one of those bodies doesn't die all day long.
all day. Not only that, they have to use their words properly, and they have to be functioning humans in this world. You also have to teach them how to walk, how to talk, how to eat, how to look you in the
How
eye.
to sleep.
How to sleep. Did you know you had to teach someone how to sleep? How to wipe their bum, how to brush their teeth, how to make their bed, how to brush their hair, how to do their hair. Okay, that's just the basic.
And don't even think for a second that any of those tasks take one time. No, they take about 50. Wiping your butt takes years.
And then you have to clean those tiny people's clothes. That's one full-time job. Cooking, that is another full-time job. Then there is cleaning. That is a full-time job.
Every time you organize or cook or do anything, 2 minutes later you turn around and the whole thing is thrown up again, and you got to do it again.
Try sleeping. Doesn't exist. So
No,
then
no.
you're functioning on no sleep while you're trying to raise these people. Have you tried to raise a doctor or a lawyer? I challenge you to buy 3 tiny baby piglets and try to get them dressed in a snowsuit while they're hungry and while they have to go to the bathroom.
And then at the very last moment, when all of them at least look decently fed and dressed,
Yes.
you got to look in the mirror and you got to make sure you don't look like this.
You have to have a job and work on top of all of that and have a relationship and do the sex regularly.
Are you exhausted yet?
You know what we do all day? Everything. Oh, and on top of that, you don't ever hear what a good job you're doing. Imagine people yelling and screaming at you as you go through your day.
And then your husband comes home and he's like, gosh, you look tired.
Hi,
Oh,
babe.
I don't know. How was
Yeah.
it just like
What-
sitting at your desk?
What
and
do you
going
mean?
for
What do you
wine?
mean you don't want to do it?
So when all of that is done and you lay in your bed and you're like, your freaking brain starts spinning like crazy. So
Yeah.
it's not even that you're physically tired, but you're mentally
About
exhausted.
all
from
the stuff you
things.
didn't do, about all the balls you dropped in the day. If you're a grandparent and you've been there, take the kids for them. Tell them to have a nap. And moms, if you're feeling so freaking tired every day, you know what you need to do? I don't know. either.
One day we'll be in retirement. They'll be gone and we'll be relaxing.
You know what, Natalie?
What? What?
Everyone's just got a tiny shit show going on behind the scenes.
Do they?
You just remember that.
This too shall pass.
If you see a tired mom schlepping it down the street,
Hey, Mama, you doing good
give her a
job.
wink.
Hello today.
Is that Cat and Nat?
Yes, yeah, they're hilarious. So yeah, Cat and Nat. So it's I thought that encapsulated everything that we were going to talk about today. Because it is true. And then on top of all of it, if you work outside of the home, there's also that part of it, right? And so there's a lot that we have to think about and manage, et cetera, et cetera. So Brooke, did you have any thoughts? I saw you kind of unmute.
Oh no, I just thought it was really funny. And I was just going to say or acknowledge, like, those are two white women, obviously, you know, who are feeling that way, and they have husbands and they have, you know, Cat and Nat live very nicely. I think they're in Canada or something, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so it's not like they're like dogging it or anything. Like, you know, they have all these amenities, I guess, in their life too, and they're this tired, is what I always notice about when I watch their videos, you know, versus those who don't have a nanny or who don't have, you know, help, you know, any support systems if you don't have family or anything nearby. So
Yeah, for sure. Natalie, were you going to say something?
Yeah, can you hear me? I'm having a bunch of tech issues. It's like entering safe driving mode. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Sorry if, anyway. Yeah, I was just going to say, when you asked about, like, you know, examples of the invisible load earlier, like, one thing that's like repeatedly coming up is like household organization, you know, like, you know, the diaper bags, the kitchen. My husband's constantly asking, like, where does this go? What needs to go in there? And like, I keep trying to involve him, the nursery, like, why don't you figure it out? I showed you, you know, all these times, you know, but he kind of expects me to be like the household manager. Like, he's in the kitchen more than I am, you know, and it's like, where does this, you know, mixer go? Where does the griddle go? You know, like, and I have ADHD myself. So, you know, I typed out like a checklist for the diaper bag for myself, but, you know, for him too, kind of. And it's very aggravating to have like a list right there. Like, he'll still call me and be like, the diaper bag has wipes and diapers and that's it, but we're not going to be out very long. Does the checklist really matter? I'm like, dude, so yeah. It's
Yeah, it's a real deal. And we should probably talk about that when we get to the discussions. I do think that those are all valid points that that you bring up, and weaponize incompetence. Yeah, I think we could talk about it, but there's these gender roles that we all kind of fall into subconsciously, you know. And one of the things that I started asking, actually even my husband, is, do you think that if I were a woman, if I were a man, would I be expected to do this kind of same thing? And he's like, okay, fine, I'll do it. You know, but that's how I have that lens of, if I weren't a woman, would I still be expected to do the same task or the same thing or to say the thing, right? And that goes with everybody, you know, too. It's like, am I expected to do this because I'm the mom? Why can't somebody else do it, right? So we can have more of that convo too. I think once we get into our discussion, but really good points that you bring up. So we're all exhausted. I mean, you saw Jacinda, right? Jacinda also stepped down, who's the Prime Minister of New Zealand. But you know what was interesting about that was she got basically flogged for saying she was tired. I will share it with the references, but there's a video of her, of a reporter saying, well, you know, maybe if you weren't a mom, you wouldn't be, you wouldn't be so tired. And it's like, what? Really? So, you know, there's still a lot of stigma around that. I think, you know, with emotional invisible labor, you can't just see it as the as equity in terms of the household, but there's also other nuances that go into it. There's the gender equity part of it, the disparity, right? Even in just how women and men are viewed in society, how women and men are viewed or paid, right? There's all of that stuff. All of the work we do is unpaid. All of the work that men do are pretty much valued. So if you take a look at women and caregiving and all of that, we are raising people who are going to be part of society, who are going to be the next CEOs, who are going to be the next doctors and lawyers, whatever. But that is still unseen as not valued. So there is definitely, there's a big macro systemic issue that we have to fight. And then there's also, or take into consideration. And then there's the smaller ones that happen in the household. And I think, I'm going to go on my soapbox, but the thing that we can do is if we have control over the household, that's where we can start making change. And so we should start there first, but it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of work. The next slide I was just going to share is funny, but not also.
We can't see your screen again.
Yeah, I'm going to share.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
Yeah, it's all good. Oh, can you see it? No, you can't.
That's your,
That was the other screen. I have
yeah,
many screens going on.
no worries. The other thing I just want to say and help fill the time is was about our careers too, like women's careers. Like my husband's still same job, doing his same thing, promoted, you know, all this stuff, and like I'm chilling. Like I am trying to build my own, but like it was definitely me having to take shifts and choices in my career when having kids as well.
Yeah, for sure. That's a big one too. Yes. Arlie Hochschild is great. And then, yes, and I do have recommendations. And fair play, actually, yeah, all good thing, all of the good things. And I actually had I had Eve Rodsky as the author of Fair Play, who is a colleague and part of the coalition actually that she put together to help combat a lot of the stuff that we're doing, right? Or that we're going through as moms and women. Yeah, Fair Play is good. The Fair Play cards are good. So this is kind of a Trello board. I don't know if you all have seen. This is a type of checklist. It's a type of project management tool. But it's just funny how there's all of these things and all of these tasks that we do. Buy a gift, make Shutterfly album, which I have to do for my senior, call cleaners, call whatever. So it's all the things that we have to do here. But the one thing I wanted to point out though is that the experience for moms of color are all similar, but it is also dramatically different. For women of color, our experience just is a little bit more amplified. So historically, men have not done labor or work that is unpaid, and women have not been paid for our work, even when it's essential, right? So raising children, for example, and keeping a good, clean household. Women's work, particularly the work of women of color, has time and again been undervalued and pushed behind closed doors out of the public eye. One of the things that that was really quite telling for me, again, as I was doing research here in this vein, was that I think there were over 1 million women who left the workforce during COVID, or I think in 2021, yeah. But there was an exodus of women who left the workplace. And I think it was 90% of the women were all women of color who left. And why is that, right? And so because our experience is different in that we face in the workplace, we face not the glass ceiling, but we face the concrete wall. And also women of color, or marginalized, we have this trope of, oh, they can just do that. It's just a very different experience. in terms of even the advocacy work that's going out there on women of color and paid care, paid leave, and all of that. The advocacy work that tends to happen is, and I put it on here. I got this from a book called Hood Feminism, which I would highly recommend you read, by I forget her name. I just had it on my desk. It is a fantastic book, but basically the premise of it is that the framework that focuses on women, like the feminist trope and all of that, feminism is still a movement that is meant that generally is meant to represent all women, but it is centered on those who already have most of their needs met. Meaning, and that's the issue I have with a lot of the work that's being done. Not to say that the work isn't good, because the work is good. We're trying to advocate for paid leave. We're trying to advocate for early childhood education, right? And making that available for everybody. But what I'm seeing out, especially for those who are advocating for, the invisible labor and women and caregiving, is still very much centered around those with privilege, and not necessarily looking at women who might not be able to ask a partner or somebody else to take a kid to soccer because they have to work a double shift, or can they even afford to pay for soccer, right? I mean, that's kind of the idea, is even taking that down a level deeper. And so, I like the idea around fair play and what Eve has done. But my other issue with that, though, is it's still very much a very upper middle class type of thinking. And so when we think about the emotional and the invisible labor for women of color, it's very different, because we're faced with stereotypes and other judgments, right? There's microaggressions that we have to work through, not just in the workplace, but in just the way we move in this world. So an example that I'll give you is, I'll give you two examples. And actually I posted this on LinkedIn, and I think Brooke, you saw this, where I was at a senior parents night, and I got introduced to, so to put it in context, we live in an area that is predominantly white. 51% of the demographic, I think, is female, white females, and a pretty affluent neighborhood. I'm just going to say I'm not affluent. We moved here because I wanted my girls to have good education, and to make sure that they also have an opportunity, right, to succeed. And so that's why we moved here. We don't have a $3,000 square foot house. We have something smaller than that. But so I was introduced to this group of women for senior night, and one of the moms asked, "So where are you from?" That question in and of itself is not a question one should ask. And I know Brooke, you and I had a conversation about this, and it's like, you should just ask, so, just get to know the person first, and then maybe ask, "Oh, so where are your parents from?" That would be, "Oh, your parents are Philadelphia." Okay, well, okay, then just leave it at that. You don't have to. But anyway, so she asked me where I was from, and I knew where this was going to go. So I just cut to the chase, and I said, "I'm from Philippines originally." And then had like a little bit, "Oh, so who's your daughter? Where's she going? Where's she thinking of going to college?" The usual questions. And then they started taking selfies with, selfies. And I decided to step out of the frame. Again, I'm the only non-white or Asian. I'm the only Asian or woman of color I was the only woman of color in that room, or in the restaurant. And so I stepped away from the frame because I didn't want to be one. I just didn't feel comfortable. And the woman I got introduced to said, "Hey, Philippines, come here and take a picture with us." Yeah. And I froze, and I was like, what do I do? I ended up not taking the picture. I walked back to where my husband was sitting with another dad, and I ordered a gin and tonic, and I watched the Warriors game, and I just kind of like let that sink in. But I will be seeing this mom again because of all the senior events. So that's one, right? That's another mental load that women of color kind of have to carry on top of all the other things that they have to already do. And then, and then at work, right? All the time. My boss now knows that she's like, oh, Ted, of course you have something to say because you're the opinionated one. I just have things to say. So we get shut down in other ways as well. So there's a lot there in terms of the mental load for women of color, right? It's not just doing the checklist of I have birthday gifts, whatever. And just to give another example, when we were looking for colleges for my daughter, she goes, I want to go to Alabama. And I was like, excuse me? You want to go to a school in the South? And she goes, yeah, they have a great school, University of Alabama, they have great football, whatever. And I had to sit her down and I said, unfortunately, for your schools, we have to be very mindful about where you need to go. Because she can't just pick a school because it's not a free for all. She has to, even Indiana was a stretch for us, right? Sending her to the Midwest or sending her to the place where the Ku Klux Klan was born. So it's just like all of those things you have to think about. That's part of your mental load and all the things. So I can keep going, but there's all of that for women of color. It's just a little bit heavier. And because we also have to deal with the stereotypes and the microaggressions. We are also, in terms of the research, women of color, specifically Black and Latinx, are paid way less than their female counterparts, their white female counterparts and men. I think it's like over $1. And we won't, for women of color, specifically for the Black and brown communities, we won't reach pay parity until I think it was 2039 for 36, something like that for women of color. For women of color, for white women, for women of color, we won't get there for another like 100 or 150 years on top of that for pay parity. So it really is quite, it's quite a climb for us. And when I was doing research for this talk, actually, and I typed on Google, moms of color, invisible workload. There were 2 articles that I found, and it didn't really talk about the invisible load. So there's really not a lot of research, not a lot of content on the work we're doing, and that is why I'm making it my mission to do more research on that and to spread it and amplify the message, especially for those of us who are in marginalized communities.
I've experienced that as a woman of color as well. I'm Filipino and my husband's Vietnamese. And I was pregnant, during the lockdown. And, at the time we were living in downtown San Jose, and people around the Bay Area, Asians were getting attacked. They were being blamed for COVID. And, I'm mixed. I'm like a quarter Irish. And so sometimes I get, mixed up for like Latina. And, this was like super, I don't know if it was silly, but it felt like weird to post. I was on Facebook and I was just like, hey, when you look at me, like, what's your impression? Like, what race would you think I am? Because like, I don't know if I want to be Asian presenting right now. And yeah, because like I had gestational diabetes too, and I wanted to go out on walks, and my husband, he was very concerned, understandably, and so he's like, where are you gonna walk? Am I able to walk with you? Maybe you want to stay until I can get back, get done with my work. And I understood where he was coming from, and I kind of shared that fear, but it was also like, being pregnant, I kind of needed that walk to like, one, help my health, help the baby, but like my mental health, like not being able to get out. But it was a legitimate fear. We were in downtown San Jose. We lived like right by the San Jose Diridon station. And, there was a Vietnamese girl who got stabbed like right at that station. And so, he carried that fear. I carried that fear. And, I gave birth to a healthy baby boy and everything worked out. But it was a lot to shoulder during a time that was like stressful for everybody.
Yeah. So that's on top of all the things that you already have to check off your list. Right? It's like, and I feel that to my core, and we can start, we can definitely share stories now in the discussion. So, but the one thing I will share after that Hey Philippines comment, I had experienced another microaggression at work from my white male boss. And I felt in my body, like, when your blood drains, when you just know something happening. When something is going on or something doesn't feel right, that feeling when you suddenly feel weak or anyway, I had to take a beat. So I was just also telling Brooke, I was actually rushed to the ER on Thursday last week because I just started feeling not that great, and they found that my blood pressure is at 200. So, and I've never had that before. And I thought, okay, what is going on? Why? I feel like I'm doing the right things. I'm eating okay, I'm getting a little bit of exercise thanks to my dog. But like what else is happening? But it's the microaggressions, it's the mental load, it's the invisible stuff. So we have to make a decision for my daughter's college, for example, and the colleges that she's picked, even if they gave her money, on average, college is at 65,000 for the ones that she got accepted in for a year. How do people do that? Like, I don't want her to go into debt. So there's all of that. And I feel like maybe that was probably one of the trigger points. And the other is I have an 11-year-old. So this is another part of it, is when you are raising kids who have mental health issues, right? So my 11-year-old has just been diagnosed with anxiety disorder that's unspecified and depression. And that shows up in various ways. So then that's one of the reasons why I decided to do my advanced degree in clinical psychology, so I can also learn how to better help her out. But then you're a psychologist, you're a therapist, you're a chef, you do the laundry, you do the cleaning, you have to remember, you do the kid, you're the chauffeur, you're the this, you're the that. And then on top of that, you have to deal with all the other things, the microaggressions, all of the Hey Philippines comments. So, and then you work on top of that. So I was like, okay, I think that's my body telling me to just right now. So, and so it comes out in various ways for me. It came out physically. I think my body finally just said, enough, you're done. And it shut down. So that's, that's the outcome, or that's what happens when it becomes too much. So.
Do you have any tips? I'm not sure further along you have some tips, but I feel like as whether, obviously I can't understand BIPOC women, but I imagine, just as a white woman, like I can talk about all the loads I have, like I can talk about it and I express it, but like, what is there to fix it? I guess is the, I can't change society, but what are there things that we could do to fix it or help us?
That is a big question. I think, I'm going to start small and then maybe talk about that. But, we can start at home, right? So start testing out your boundaries and start saying no to things. Stop. Actually, I put I put stop and then I erase it and I put limit your volunteering. Like, don't do it. Just if you find yourself raising your hand to head the auction or to buy somebody's birthday cake at work or to volunteer for whatever, stop. You're like, my time is precious. What can I be doing with this time instead? It's not being selfish. It's just, you have to limit it. The other thing is, and you probably already know this term too. It's called train the trainer, where you're training a potential person to, do the thing. Have your husband do the thing. Bye, Vanessa. Thank you. Just have them do the thing, have them change the diapers, have them pick the dinner thing, or say, you know what, I really haven't thought about dinner. What do you think? Maybe you can decide today. I don't know, like those are some of the things that I've done. I know when my kids were young, I had asked, actually I didn't ask, I just told my husband that he needed to take the night shift. And that I would pop during the day, and I showed him where all the milk was, and that I'm going to rest, and that he needed to take care of the baby at night. And the complaints happened. Well, I work all day. I worked all day and I have to do this. It's, yeah, you do actually, because I've been here taking care of this child and feeling really lonely. Well, you got a chance to go out and talk to everybody and go to meetings and whatever. And I'm here to, conversing with a 6-month-old, right? It's just like, it's a whole different dynamic. So anyway, if anybody else has any tips that's worked for them too. Kelly, I see you.
Yeah, no, I thank you for sharing those ideas. And I try to do that. I push myself to ask for help and to let my husband take the reins on some things that I tend to automatically jump in on. But that in itself is so hard, because it doesn't feel natural, right? Because I'm just so used to just doing all the things. So it's almost like it feels like more work to like figure out, how can I best ask for this, and how will this be best received by him, right? And like, I'm like, fuck it, I'll just do it. So that's a tough piece for me. And then when I do ask, I often feel guilty for asking, or maybe he just kind of like nods and walks away, and I'm like, then I get upset with him for not being more like, okay, absolutely, let me take that on for you, right? It's like, so I'm feeling like, okay, am I asking too much here? Which, like, I know objectively I'm not, but I'm like, he thinks I'm asking too much, and that's a bigger issue. So it's those are just a few things
that
I wanted to mention.
The guilt thing is real, Kelly, or like, you feeling bad. But the one thing that at least that I've seen is, by women doing that, we actually continue to propagate those gender roles and the gender stereotypes. Like, never mind, fine, I'll just do it for you.
Yeah.
As opposed to, oh my God, he is doing the dishwasher, but the spoons don't go there. It's fine. Just like, the idea isn't perfection, but it does take that whole other level of like, fine, and asking. And then sometimes it is tiring to keep asking, and then you become the nag, and that's another one. That's another stereotype that that we have. So my cousin who just had a baby, she said she just had it, so she gave her baby to her husband, and went to Burger King and bought herself a big shake and just sat in the parking lot and just enjoyed her shake. She said she was crying. She had to cry it out because it was just so much. And then she came home like an hour or two later, and it was fine. The diaper was clean. He figured it out. He knew where to, so, I think it's that, but it is hard. I just don't want us to, get to that point of like, we're in tears because of it. But yeah.
One of the things you said earlier was using technology. I think before we called, like, you said you use a Trello board. I use like Google Calendar, where I can like see my husband's calendar and he can see mine, and I just like allocate kids' appointments to him. Like for doctor's appointments and things like that. Like I thought I had to go to all the kids' doctor's appointments. So like my kids are in OT and PT. They have some physical disabilities. And so I used to think it always had to be me that took them, and the mom being there. And then I slowly realized, like, it doesn't have to be me, he can go too. It's hard because I don't get all the information, because I'm not there. But, I give him a list of questions. I'll have him reply the responses and the questions. But it's, again, that management of it. But at least I can delegate the work to him. Kind of like when I used to work at a corporate setting, like I had a team, I worked with a team. And so I would delegate it to other people on my team.
Yeah.
But I think it's hard to also think of me delegating to my husband as well. Like, that's not sexy. Like, you don't want to
Yeah.
partner standpoint. But
delegation is fine. I know AI has been getting a lot of some negative press, but I actually use Chat GPT just to help me with things like, hey mommy, can you talk to me about gender inequity in sports? Sure, babe, let me just Chat GPT that. Here you go. Because I don't have the time, right? Or I just recently took my kids on a trip, and I just said, hey, Chat GPT, can you suggest some recommendations to do in San Diego? And I didn't have to go on Expedia, whatever. it just did and then I would say, okay, this is my budget. Here's what I need. Here are the ages of the kids, and it just spat out a whole itinerary. And I was like, thank you so much. Yeah, so use technology as you can. Other people use like Trello or Asana, I like the to-do list. That is great. Yeah,
That's such a great idea, Tet. Could you send us a screenshot of your Trello board that you flashed up on the screen?
Yeah.
That's like the brilliant idea, and like it makes the invisible load a bit more visible, I think, because all of those things are usually just in my head. So to be able to put them down and have them be visible to my partner, I think would be a game changer.
Yeah, I'll share actually the blog, and I'll share the screenshots with you. And then the other thing that we have is a calendar. So we have a physical calendar that's probably this big, and it's right by the kitchen. And I put all the appointments there. So nobody has to ask me, who's got the dentist appointment? What time is it? Who do I have to, and I'm like, if it's not on the calendar, it's not happening. If it's on the calendar, it's happening. So every time I would see my husband with his coffee, he's just kind of check the calendar. He goes, so are you doing all pickups? Do I need any pickups? And I usually do all kid drop-offs and pickups, and there will be moments where I will say I need your help, and I'll put it on the calendar. Pick up, right? So how did that happen, Sophia? I don't get that. I'm always the first level for any medical appointments. That's awesome that your partner.
You can put your partner as number one. They usually have priority call, and you can just say, oh, I don't know how they did that. Just keep letting it be.
Yeah, that is a great idea.
Like purposely want that to be a discussion, then definitely, which is important too, as you probably mentioned, just training the trainee or reframing whose responsibilities are what.
Yeah, that is a great idea. We also, in that same vein, we have a shared family email. So husband and I have my own email, but we have a family email that we use for schools, for anything that we need to share, evites, all of that. So it's like a team, our last name, and then Callie, right? That's like our thing. And so there's only one email that goes to all school forums and anything. That's awesome. Grocery shopping. How did you manage to do that, Brooke? Like, because there's specific things that we buy, are you specific, like not that oat milk, this oat milk, or no, the kids like that milk, not this.
I gave up on what the branded things were. I like just start like, I figure out what's for dinner for the week. I'm like, eggplant parm, whatever it is. And then he'll be like, okay, she wants eggplant parm. I need eggplants. And like, he'll like figure out from there what groceries are needed to make those things. And then, general list. And we just have it as a shared note on our iPhones.
Yeah, the shared notes is a game changer too. So we have shared calendars on our phone. So I manage all the calendars of all my 4 girls and the school and my school and my work. Anyway, they're all here, but I share it with my husband. So I shared a lot of, so when I have an appointment and I'm making it there, it goes straight to both of our calendars and he's got it on there as well. So we have the physical calendar, the digital calendar. But again, it's a lot to keep track of, but it is the thing. Yeah. It would be awesome to outsource.
So on that note, I just started, and this is again, like I recognize there's like privilege here, but Blue Apron has been awesome for that exact thing, because planning the meals, getting the groceries, cooking the meals, it's so much, and that takes at least a couple of the pieces away. And actually, like financially, it ends up not being that. I haven't done a full like look back yet because we just recently started doing it, but it's been great. I think it's worth it for us.
Or instead of even cooking, I was just going to share, I think I've been posting this in our group. But if you just like meal delivery, like there's a pinpoint, they'll just send you meals. And for sprinkles, you just put sprinkles in the coupon code and you get 5% off. And so I was like, oh my gosh, me getting food delivered to me seems so bougie. Like I'm not that type of person. And like, but not having to think about what's for dinner. It's like kind of nice. Like I don't know what's going to be it for dinner tomorrow. Like, but I don't like picking it. It used to get me overwhelmed, and there are meals you pick it yourself. But just like almost like, here are the things I like. Here's the meal for this week. Was so much easier for me. I didn't have to think about it or get my husband's opinion, someone else's opinion too. It's just like there. So I like that too. Just sharing that too as an option.
That's awesome. Yeah. Anywhere you can save time. For me, time is important. But right now, I think the only thing that I pay for, I outsource, is our house cleaning. That's it. Everything else is in-house, if you will. But even for the meal stuff, my kids are old enough now that they can help with meal preparation. So I just have that. Or there are days where I'm just like, I can't do this. And so I will just order Chipotle, or whatever. And I think that's okay. I vowed never to give my kids Happy Meals ever. COVID hit and I was like, fuck it, you guys are getting Happy Meals today. So, I think it's just also that lowering those expectations, I think is important, right? We just can't always be on top of things. One of the things that I did, and I don't know if this is actually, well, I said it, but I'm going to share it, is, my kids they're always expecting their parents, especially their moms, to always be at this bar. And I think I was frustrated about something. And I asked my older kids, I said, is it okay for your mom to just be human? For 1 second, can you just understand that I am a human being, that we make mistakes too, and that I get frustrated too, and that I can also share my feelings, even if it might be hurtful for you, but that I'm also human. And they just kind of stopped what they were doing and looked at me and they were like, oh shit. Yes, because we are humans. Like we can't be this wave of perfection all the time, of always being the this and the that, right? And so I think that broke a little bit of but it just broke a little bit of that expectation with my kids. So when I say I just cannot do this today, they'll say, okay, mom, is there anything we can do to help you? So, but me saying that, I don't even, I just said it and it was like, yeah, that's true. Parents are also human beings. You know, that's why gosh, this whole idea around being a super mom, I can't, you know, we're just doing the things and I have this notion around that of, and that is the reason why moms are so burnt out, of why caregivers are so burnt out, because there's this notion that we're super. Not really. We're just doing the things because no one else is doing them. And who's gonna pick up the slack, right? You see a piece, you know, my dog likes socks, and so it's like there's trail of socks on the hallway. It's like, can somebody isn't anyone picking up these socks? Did you see this? You just walk past it. It's like, yeah, pick it up, put it in the laundry, you know, like those things. It's constant.
But it's one thing I just wanted to, I guess, highlight is the communication, kind of going back to what Kelly said about asking for help, is like being able to communicate what we need, I think is the big thing too, versus letting it boil up inside. Like, they're not picking it up. Oh, like, you know, I was just, fuck it, I'll do it myself, right? Sorry, like to keep quoting that, but it's so true. So we need to be communicating more, it feels like, is one of the solutions or one of the big things to take away.
Yeah.
And I think there's an aspect of trusting our partners too, that like, I know yeah, that's something I can work on, you know, like it does feel like nothing would get done, but realistically, like it would have to get done. And I think it would, and it would be an adjustment, and it would probably be hard on everyone for a little bit, but that's maybe what it would take, right? And for them to kind of learn and get into the rhythm and the mode of taking more on. Because yeah, it feels like the world would stop, but then I have to remind myself, like, it wouldn't. Like, they would figure it out, right? I hope. I don't know, but it's too scary to find out, you know?
They do figure it out though, because like so I'm pregnant and I got sick and everything, like someone had to take care of it. I couldn't do anything. And then, like my husband was putting my son to sleep, and usually I do every night, but I was too sick, so it almost makes you want to like show like, okay, well, clearly you can do it. Why aren't you doing more of it? So.
Yeah. So, Brooke, I think I'll just share, I'll just share it with you, when you share all the information about Mom Warrior and all the things that we do, but, we can just continue the conversation, and then I'll share all the resources and the references. I have a bunch of articles, books, and, I'll also share it with this group. I know some folks dropped, but a few of my professors have actually encouraged me to write a book about this experience of the invisible load and motherhood, specifically around women of color. So if you are interested, and I really don't like the term women of color as well, because anyway, I have just a lot of things that I want to but if you would be interested in sharing your story and possibly be featured in the book, let me know. I'd love to interview you and learn more about your stories too, because it's important. I think we have to keep sharing this, the expectations and all the things that we have to do, but also see if we can, I wouldn't say stop it, because it's not going to stop, but like reframe and challenge the status quo and change it up a little bit. So, oh yeah, so Lydia just put a crock pot and rice cooker, yeah, air fryers for laundry in the wash at night and into the dryer. My issue, yeah, that's a good idea. My thing with laundry is putting the clothes away.
That's the hardest part. It's the hardest part. You do all the other things. And then you have to put them away. That's where I get, yeah. Me
Yeah.
too. Same.
Yeah. So sometimes it stays in the dryer and then kids are like, I don't need underwear. Like check the dryer. It's probably still there. It's been there for 2 weeks. So
100%.
yeah.
Kat, is there other things you wanted to discuss?
Yeah. So and Sophia actually brought up a good point that if you are raising sons, teach them domestic work now. You know, teach them how to clean, doing laundry, kind of like break that cycle, right? So if you have, and then for your girls, you know, have them pick up a hammer or something that is not necessarily typical for them to be picking up. One of the things that one of my girls is learning is auto shop. So she's looking at under hoods of cars. I am a big fanatic of racing, so that's part of it too. But that's what she does, right? It's a wrench. Okay, we need to get the light bulb replaced. Okay, well, have your girl do it, right? Have your daughter be like, hey, help mommy do this. And then for your son, let's vacuum the house. Let's wash the dishes. Let's load the dishwasher. So doing that early on, I think will break the cycle too. So yeah, thank you, Sophia, for that. That's definitely a good call out. Kelly, that is hilarious. That is awesome.
Yeah. I mean, when they're little, when they're babies,
Yeah,
so it's like, it's leggings and a little t-shirt anyway, so.
I do
I
that
don't
in
have
order to
to-
go to the gym in the morning. I wear my workout clothes the night before, or else I won't ever make it to the gym. So
Right?
works for kids.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Or I use my son's pajama top and I'll just put it as a shirt the next day. Like it's close enough. Not really
Yes.
tight.
It's close enough. I think that's the thing. Yeah, no, I did have anything else to add. But I'll share all of my some references in the follow-up email. Yeah.
Thank you, Tet. Thank you so much for this time. Like, you know, volunteering, giving us your time, sharing your resources. So folks know, I don't know if you have a slide, Tet, per se, you want to share, it'll be in the follow-ups. Like if you guys want to work with Tet from a coaching perspective, to get insights, she's really amazing and great. And then for anyone who's joined us, like for Sprinkles Parents, our next topic, you can find on our site is about if anyone has little ones sleeping through the night and helping your baby sleep through the night, or just more hours at a stretch. And as always, we offer all Sprinkles events free for parents mostly. So any donations are always really appreciated from our site. So we can keep this programming going to provide opportunities for parents to learn how to thrive, frankly. And if we're all parents that are taking care of and are healthy and teaching our kids right, our kids will thrive too. So we have to always put on our mask first, they say on the airplane, right? In order to help our families. So anyways, thank you again, Tet, for joining us. Please sign up for our next Sprinkles event and any donations are appreciated.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Brooke. And I'll just share this then, and Brooke will share it out. But I have free monthly sessions focused on motherhood. I also have sessions for raising teen girls. If you know anybody, a mom who might be raising teen girls, let me know. I do one-on-one coaching. I have a couple of spots, maybe one spot left for that. And then I do a lot of group coaching as well. And then the 2024 Breaking Barriers Summit is happening next year. So I'm really excited about that. Hopefully you can join me, hopefully in person, or it's going to be hybrid, but it'll be good. So we're going to have a lot of amazing speakers. And I think Eve Brodsky might actually be part of that from Fair Play. So
cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Can't wait to check it out. Thank you everyone for taking the time again.
Yeah, thank you. Take care.
Thank you both so
Thanks.
much.
See you
Bye.
guys. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.